Welcome everyone. It is Sunday once again, and this is the Church of Zealotology. All praise Gonzo. All praise Bud. This Sunday sermon is sponsored by HCCA, which stood for High Current Competition Amplifier. For some reason, people couldn't figure that out. I've heard people call it Hecka Base. A little judgment on that one, but that's fine. I wanted to talk about gratitude today. So many people that I talk to are stuck or feel like they're missing something, or just don't know how to get to the next level or get past a problem. And in my experimentations, I've discovered that many times gratitude is the missing ingredient. So, and it's a very powerful thing, and it really grounds me. I'll talk about me. It grounds me to know that whatever schedule that I think I'm on doesn't matter. That the schedule has a schedule, and so this is very difficult to translate to other people sometimes, especially when they want a subwoofer right away, and they feel like I've taken too long on it. And I'm getting ready to post a video about a guy named Andrew, who is I don't know what he's doing now, but last time I checked, and when this video was happening, which was almost 2 years ago, he was a counselor at the Florence prison, and he was going to help start a brand called Blue Devil Audio, which I already have the art for in the website. And the whole thing blew up because he was a dick and he was impatient, and he's basically a grown child. And the fact that he's in charge of disciplining and counseling prisoners was just frightening. And he ended up shorting me some equipment on the deal, and of course I'll never get it back. It's whatever, and I'm in his eyes I'm rich and I can afford it. And so, and I don't know if it's a black thing, white thing. I don't care. It's just I don't know. He, in his mind, I'm the dick. So, which I've had many people make that decision in their lives, and they want submission, and they want coddling, and they want I don't know, just attention, and I don't give that to them. So now, if this interaction causes me headache, then that's that's what brings me back to gratitude, where it's hard to complain when you have gratitude. And it's also, especially when you compare I had posted a link to Sophie's Choice, which I would love if somebody would redo, because it's very over dramatic and very, what's the word? Very, I think it's late 70s, early 80s. And it's a great story, but I think it would really be tough to resonate with people today, because they have no reference to struggle. They have no reference to, what it means to make a hard decision and have to live with it. And, the worst decision is, do we go to Six Flags or do we go to Disneyland? It's, whatever. I don't want to project on where that's going, but for me, I just want to focus on my work and focus on, for me, getting to the moon, and doing my best to bring along as many good people as possible. So, but as far as gratitude, that there's a great Beastie Boys song that I'll post a link to, where they get, I think it was live from Budokan. So, but I'm not sure who the guy is that's on there. I think he was like a local rapper or something, maybe out of Japan, from his accent. But I like that version better. I like the screech in his voice. And so, but anyways, I'll post that one. And, but again, experiment. So, and I think I've talked about this before about, doing a morning salutation. And that's for like life management and stress management, for you to just take a walk, whether with the dogs or not, or walk your cat. I don't give a shit. And, just be thankful and release everyone from their commitments and their, what they owe you, which is, if you think about it, it's basically the Lord's Prayer. The problem with the Lord's Prayer, though, is that it's so, it becomes a chant rather than meaningful. It loses its meaning over the time that people say it. So it's actually a wonderful prayer, but they say it in AA and some other stuff, and it's, to me, it's kind of lost its value and its meaning when you just say it for the words. So, but real gratitude. I've talked about this several times. Is if you lower your expectations, all of a sudden, everything is a gift and everything is wonderful, and that really improves your attitude. And a good attitude goes a long way, because as soon as you point that nose down and have a bad attitude, you're going to hit ground really quick. So it's always important to have hope. It's always important to have, a positive attitude. Anybody can have a negative attitude. That's the easiest thing in the world. Anybody can give up. That's the easiest thing to do in the world. And you will fail. That's a given. And it's important to acknowledge that, and I don't want to say you're not perfect, because you get into a whole different weird conversation, and a lot of people still have the dogma about like Jesus was perfect and shit like that. But it's not about being perfect. It's about it's about sin, and sin is an archery term that means not on the mark, or like you missed the mark, you missed the point, you missed what this whole thing was about. That's what sin is. And when you have gratitude, or when you have, there was another one that came up, which was metanoia. And metanoia is about a change of heart, and about purposeful metanoia sometimes will lead to you doing the exact same thing you did before, but for a different reason. And it makes you go underground with your need for approval and feedback and things like that. So, and then, you can go too deep in gratitude where you end up doing nothing, and that's not a good thing. I was remembering, I saw some things about some Tibetan, the word I guess would be worshipers, where they just crawl on the ground to be grateful in order to reach enlightenment. And it's like, that's not how enlightenment works. Enlightenment is actually, I've talked about this before as well, is in service. It's in service to others. Now, when you're in service of others, you're actually enjoying the Zen, you're enjoying the enlightenment. So you don't notice it unless you are aware of it. Then all service becomes enlightenment, and all service becomes Zen. Because, when you know and you're conscious that giving and serving someone is where the Zen is at, then everything is a gift, everything is wonderful, everything is, and it doesn't matter if the person isn't grateful. That doesn't matter. You're just giving. It's just about giving, and it's about being thankful for just being alive. And when you break it down to that level, guess what? You're happy. I've talked about this too, as happiness is an illusion. It can be a happy illusion. So even if we're in the matrix right now, that's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your choices. Whether you believe in God or not doesn't matter. And also, don't get offended for God on God's behalf. If God exists and He loves you, it doesn't matter whether you believe in Him or not. I don't want. It's very. What's the word? It leads to problems whenever people start making decisions around whether or not they spoke to God. That's a problem, right? Because typically he or she, whatever, they don't respond. And so that leaves you with the conclusion that this is on your shoulders. And whether or not you accept that responsibility is up to you. I was thinking the other day about atheism and how sometimes atheists can be really annoying. I think what they're doing is just sort of a tit for tat. The pendulum swings both ways sort of thing, is how annoying Christians are. And I still get annoyed when people say praise God or count your blessings on Facebook, which is like, it's like the anti, I just count your blessings, shut the fuck up. You don't have to tell everybody about it. It's just kind of gross to me. And sometimes I used to say a lot of stuff about it. The problem is that they don't get it. Christians is like that, don't understand what you're saying to them, even though what you're saying to them is good. When you say, stop saying praise God and just praise God. Just be the praise, like it's in your heart. It has nothing to do with, making a post on Facebook. That's gross when you say that, and it's offensive, even to atheists, especially to atheists. So, and I think a lot of people just do that as a tit for tat, just to show. It's the same thing with Satanists. So Satanists don't really believe in Satan. Christians believe in Satan more than Satanists do. And the belief in Satan and the worship of Satan is simply just to make fun of people who worship God and talk about how God talks to them and things like that. It's all bullshit. And so that's really what that's about if you don't understand that. So, and then if you read, what's that? I forget the name of the book. I think it's not the Satanic Bible. I forget. It's a book about Satanism, and it's some really good stuff. It's if you read it for what it really is, which is really just common sense and about honoring other people's realities and their life decisions, that brings peace to the world. Like abortion. If it's none of your business whether or not somebody gets an abortion. Do people want to get abortions? Typically not, right? But that's not the way that some, especially people in Congress and in politics, treat women as if they're getting abortions all the time. And it's like, how about we try some education? How about we, maybe it's not so great for your body. Maybe, we can have some prevention, some common sense. But when you immediately equate it to this person is a sinner and is killing a baby and, you're going to end up with problems because you're telling people what they can do with their body, and that's a big no-no. How about just be grateful that you're healthy? Be grateful that you have the wealth to adopt children, right? So, and that's the other thing with people that are against abortion. It's like, put up or shut up. If you want to save all these children, adopt them. Guess what? There's too many children, and you can't afford it. There's not enough Jesus money in the world to adopt all the children that don't want to be, aren't wanted. And really, then now you're the dumpster driver as well, behind the prom. But again, be grateful that, whatever your circumstances, be grateful, because that's the only way that you're going to move forward, is when you realize that you have everything that you need. It's just about timing, and it's about your expectation about, when is that timing supposed to happen? And I'm certainly not saying that, it's up to the universe or any stupid saying like that, or it's up to God to decide. No, it's just sometimes, when you show up to the bus stop, your wait is going to be determined on the next bus. It has nothing to do with, God or anything like that. It's just, if you show up to the bus stop a minute before the bus gets there, guess what? Your wait time was little. If you show up, after you just missed the other one, it's going to be long. So, and there's nothing you can do about it, and there's nothing you can control about it. And to the equation that I tell people often when they, are waiting for a subwoofer or waiting for a package to get to them, just because you pester me and just because you want a tracking number does not make the package get there any sooner, which is the equivalent of being that guy at the bus stop staring down the street to see when the bus is going to show up. It doesn't matter how much you look or if you can see the bus or not. The bus is going to get there when it gets there. So the best thing you can do is work on another project or be productive with something else until that shows up. And that lesson can be used in all kinds of things. I heard that in screenwriting, and just somebody that's independent like me, I don't ever wait. Oh my God. And I'm constantly busy with projects or even just checking emails or doing research. And I'm just grateful that I have a phone and that this technology is available to me. And because of the internet and because of this time of life, whatever evolution that we're in, I'm able to work from home and for the most part support myself, and with thanks to you guys. And so if I can help you guys do that, I want to spread that, and that's one of the reasons why I do these videos and why I started Robot Underground in the first place. So for me, I knew that if I could do it, anybody could do it. Because I'm not special, I'm not magic. I do have a curiosity, and I do find that I'm on the upper spectrum of dumb. Not that I'm smart by any means, but I definitely am on the upper spectrum of dumb. I was watching Elon Musk video last night, and I'll post the link. Because it was kind of interesting. It's a little over dramatic, but it was interesting in that even as a kid, he just read everything that he could possibly get his hands on. And I remember my mom wanting me to read as a kid, but she didn't have any books. And when I lived with my dad, he bought the Encyclopedia Britannica, and I read the whole thing. And for me, it was about a curiosity and also just wanting to be empowered. If there's information out there that can be consumed, why wouldn't you consume it? That was my outlook. I hate being at a disadvantage, especially when there was opportunity, to study. If I'm going up against a project or a person, whether it be court or even just knowledgeable, I always wanted to be just smart. And I knew that I came from a bunch of dummies, and as an instinct, I knew that it would probably be, it would contribute to my survival and my escape, and it has, and it does. And so, again, that's another thing to experiment with. Does it hurt to read books? No. Does it hurt to read an encyclopedia? No, absolutely not. And you can pick them up for free now. Shit. And it's portable. It doesn't need any electricity. It's fucking amazing. And it's not as distracting as, like going on to Pornhub and trying to look for the porn that you want. And there's so many ads, and there's ugh. So it's like trying to shop for what you want on Amazon. They put up so much other shit. You're like, I don't. You're like, that is interesting. I'll look at that, and then you get sidetracked. And the next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. and you haven't bought the socks that you were looking for. So, but yeah, again, I'm not. I don't think I'm special. I do think that I'm different. And I've had the courage to embrace that and see and experiment with it to see where it goes. That's for sure. And I have had that insight, that little, what the Mormons call the still small voice, which is, what they call the Holy Ghost, of just telling me, as a kid, even as I knew that when my dad would rough me up or was mean to me, that I knew that was not the way to go or the way to be. And, same with mom. Whenever, I would look back on it now and I realize, wow, it was neglect. I wasn't even a blip on her radar. And so I was left alone to myself, and I utilized that. I experimented. I can't tell you how many times I shocked myself with electricity. I discovered in my mind series wiring on speakers. So to me, in my mind, it's like I invented it, because I'm like, what if I did this and this? Would it still work? And guess what? It did. And so that was one of the really most exciting discoveries. And then, of course, when I read it in a book, I was like, oh, yeah, a little disappointed. Welcome to the world, Patrick. You didn't invent it. Well, that's okay, and that's fine. Discovery is great. I don't want to get into self-discovery or hand mirrors or anything like that. So, but this is church. This is church. We don't need to talk about that at church. Maybe I don't know. Maybe another time. But I think that's pretty good for today. I think church should be short. I remember getting dressed up. Oh God! And here in Arizona, it would seem like every Sunday was always hot, always very sunny. Like it's sort of like God's revenge. And why God wanted revenge on us, sweet little Mormon kids, I do not know. But and then also the Sunday headache. That was the other thing that for some reason my brother and I both talked about it later on in life, that we used to. I don't get a Sunday headache anymore, but as a kid I used to. So I don't know if it was a stress headache or something like that. But anyway, that's something to put out there for you guys to examine and check out. So a little bit of industry news that I'll close with. Orion, the Orion brand, which was bought up a couple years back, probably 10 years by now, was called MD Engineering out of Florida. And I think it was owned by Brazilian-related dudes. And that's why the Orion amps started coming out with Brazilian amps, which were made in China, just for cost savings. And but anyways, they had filed for bankruptcy. So that may affect finding parts and things like that. And also somebody pointed out that they saw Orion HCCA drivers, the woofers, on Alibaba. And they were like concerned, like, hey, are they allowed to sell those? And it's like, well, when a company like Orion files for bankruptcy, many times they give up the tooling rights or tooling agreements, I would say. They don't have rights. Nobody has rights in China. The tooling agreement that they might have in China might be given up. And that's how Tilo, of TC Sounds lost his. And that's why Scott Atwell at Phi was able to buy the patent for the 6-spoke TI frame. And and that happens a lot in car audio. It's part of the overall plan of getting rid of a lot of debt and then coming back and trying again. So, and in this country, you're allowed to do that. The most famous example they always talk about is, what's his name, Hershey, the guy that invented the Hershey bar. I think he filed for bankruptcy 7 times or something like that. So don't feel bad if you have to file for bankruptcy. A lot of people fell into this thing. If I have to, I have to. It's not something I want to do, right? It's like getting an abortion. It's not something I want to do. It's not something I look forward to. But sometimes you got to kill that baby and make sure it's dead so nobody else can. Oh, the wife's groaning. Okay. I already had that conversation with these guys yesterday, babe. So I was like, you throw the baby out with the bathwater, and sometimes you got to stab that baby in the face and make sure it's dead. So... well, I'll go back to the minister mode where I say death is part of life. And that was the other one thing that I wanted to follow up with. Sorry, this is a long closing, which was prepare for death. Right. One of the things I like to talk to myself, and it scared me as a kid. Like my dad used to have me say the prayer, now I lay me down to sleep, which terrifies children. When you really think about it, retrospect, it's really about a submission and an acceptance that we're all going to die, and you know it. It's right in front of your face, and whether or not you acknowledge it can determine lots of things about your personality and how you approach life. For me, it's created more value. One of the things about being an atheist is that it's made me savor life and this opportunity that we have even more, much in the way that people preach about believing in God and about being appreciative a God creating this. Well, what if God didn't create this? What if this is all, I don't want to say a mistake, but just sort of a happenstance, a happy accident? That makes it even more valuable, because now it's even more rare. It's insanely rare. And so, but things like this happen all the time, and I'm sure there are other beings all over the universe. And if you look at statistics, you'll see that these happen quite often. So just like you were the sperm that made it, and all your brothers and sisters died in your mom's vagina. So do you feel bad for them? No, you don't. So be glad that you're alive and that you made it, and you're not, disabled enough where you can't hear this video. So be grateful about things. Oh, that was the other thing. But yeah, prepared to die. So natives, I don't know if it's Hollywood at this point, but it was purported in several movies about natives having the attitude of, is today a good day to die, and being prepared for that day to be your last. And there's actually a lot of wisdom in that. I think we talked about this, make sure you have term insurance. Don't have life insurance, or don't have whole life insurance or variable life. Those are ripoffs. Have term insurance. It's very cheap, and make sure that the beneficiary is, someone that can handle that kind of responsibility, because the typical life insurance policy is about $100,000. That's a lot of money for people, and sometimes it can ruin their lives. So it's important. Sometimes you can leave it to a church. That is a great way to do it. If you found solace and comfort and just good advice in a good, small church. You can do it to a big church if you want, but those guys are, own radio stations and shit like that, like the Mormons do. So fuck them. They got plenty of cash. You can even pick someone at random. That's a good way to go out. But do as much as you can to prepare about, how you want your body disposed of, if you want a funeral, if you don't want a funeral, my mom made payments on a plot over there in City Mesa Cemetery. She ended up giving it to my sister. Whatever, good. She was prepared, and that, that's another thing. Like, sometimes around here you see people doing car washes, to just bury someone. And so if you already have a plot paid for, you can go, oh, I'll donate the plot. See how that works? And now you're a savior to them, and you'll always be remembered, even if you're a piece of shit. So again, you can't be good, but you can do good, in spite of what's in your heart. So there's always redemption for everyone. It usually just it has to show up in your actions. So I encourage you to do good. But preparing for death, write out a will. That's a wonderful thing. If you actually have real assets, start a church and then give everything to the church. Because if you actually have some wealth, the problem with a will is that the state or local municipality, like the city or a county, can contest it and say that you owe them, and they'll tie it up in court forever. There's some horror stories about that I've been watching documentaries about, where it's a dick move, and most municipality associated people don't give a shit. All the little people are there for the harvest and to feed them. So just keep that in mind. But and it's entertaining too to sit there and maybe talk to somebody, especially like your spouse or even your kids, to get it out of the way. That's one thing that a lot of people don't talk about, and it's very taboo. What do you want to happen when I die? And it's important to acknowledge this fact that's going to happen. This is, it's just like predicting the day or the night. It's going to happen, whether you like it or not. And so it's better to be prepared than it is to be unprepared, because I'm sure there's many, many people that are listening to this that, have had a parent or a sibling. I've had both, where there was no preparation and it was a clusterfuck and everybody hates each other now and all that kind of stuff. Guess what? Everyone hated each other before that, but it was the having the money on the table that makes things especially bitter. So it's important to have all that stuff laid out. And then the will can sometimes, like on my will, it's really just an explanation of where everything's hidden. and what to do with 12 terabytes of porn. Just things like that. It's important for people to understand and deal with the mess that you leave behind, or the debt, or the whatever the mistakes that you made or you've been hiding. So, and it's very cathartic. It's very healing, and also, again, back to gratitude. It's a way for you to accept yourself and who you are. Maybe you're gay. I love this stand-up that Louis C.K. talks about. I think it was in his last special, where he talks about how he was watching Channing Tatum on Magic Mike, and he's like, I got a little sweaty on my brow. He's like, am I gay? Am I 50 years old and I find out I'm gay? It's hilarious. By the way, my favorite scene is where Matthew McConaughey is behind Channing and they're in the mirror. I was the only one in the theater laughing hysterically, and nobody was seeing the funny in that. So anytime I'm in a bad mood, I think about that, and it's just hilarious. So, but and that's what most of life is. Most of life is just like, you're the donkey, and you're either motivated by the carrot or the stick. And so it's better to have the carrot. It really is, because nobody likes their ass beat. I think that was a pun. That was a terrible pun. I'm going to end with that because that was terrible. I love you guys. Have a good week. I'll do some more videos today on technical stuff. Talk to you later.